Hello folks, my name is Mark, this is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? So everybody, welcome back our good friend Bearing to YouTube. His channel was recently suspended for a little while, but they've reinstated it, and so he's back making videos. Good for him. For those of you who don't know who this guy is, he's like one of those anti-SJW people. So apparently this guy has been kicked off of YouTube, and he came back. He's also been kicked off of Twitter permanently. I don't think they've let him back onto Twitter yet. I don't know. I haven't really looked. And, you know, a lot of people are crying about this, saying that it's, you know, this whole deplatforming of people, you know, especially on the alt-right. They're saying that it's a freedom of speech issue, which it's not. So, just to be clear, I wouldn't classify Bearing as an alt-right person. He doesn't seem to be, a white nationalist or a white supremacist or anything like that. He most definitely plays footsie with these people, though. Right, they're in his audience. He himself seems to be more of an anti-SJW guy, you know. But yeah, it's definitely like part of his audience, and I can tell you that by personal experience. What I mean by that is, about 7 months ago, I made a video in response to a 4chan prank, you know, that they put up flyers saying it's okay to be white, you know, and they got it on the news and stuff, and trolling the SJW people, you know, making fun of them, getting a reaction, stuff like that. And I made a video about that because I found the whole thing to be disingenuous, right? And Bearing responded to one of my videos. And so it's not so much about what the guy said, because I responded to his video and I stand by my response. And he never, you know, responded to my response. Chances is he probably never even saw it, which tells me that, you know, it's not something personal. You know, it wasn't personal. It's just this is the guy's business model. You know, and that's what he does, is that he goes and he finds videos about, you know, certain subjects and responds to them, right? Well, a lot of videos, you know, a lot of channels do that. You know, a lot of the channels that I watched do that back in the day. You know, pretty big channels. That's how they essentially started things like, you know, The Amazing Atheist, T.J. Kirk, Thunderfoot. You know, a lot of those guys, like, that's how they began their channels, essentially, was by debating people, going and responding to different, you know, mainly religious, you know, Christian religious videos, and then, like, making video responses, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever, right? And the problem is that it's kind of evolved into this model where a much larger channel like Bearings, right, finds a much smaller channel, you know, and then takes a video and basically, you know, responds to their video in a way that, you know, essentially making fun of it. You know, they'll try to answer some points and stuff like that, but there's also just a lot of, like, you know, mocking and poking fun and whatever. You know, that's not a problem for me. But what ends up happening is that a lot of the larger channel's followers will go and harass the smaller channel, and that's what happened to me specifically. And I don't really mind that so much, you know, because it's not the first time that it's happened to me on the internet. It won't be the last. That's just what it's like being on the internet, you know. People fuck with you, whatever, you know. And really, it just, you know, it drove a lot of traffic to my channel that never would have came otherwise. So it's like, fine. I mean, the thing is, I still get, you know, I still get traffic from that. I get traffic, and it's all people telling me to fuck off or whatever, but whatever, you know, my video counts are going up, so I don't really give a fuck. But some people out there do. And apparently it's enough to where, you know, it's gotten this guy deplatformed, right? Because harassment is against the terms of service. Okay? When you read, you know, when you sign up to YouTube, you sign up to Twitter and all these other social media platforms, you know, Facebook, whatever, part of the terms of service is that you're not going to use the platform to harass people, right? So the thing is, Bearing himself is not harassing anybody. These channels, because he's not the only one. There's I don't want to single him out so much. I'm just using him as an example because, you know, of my personal experience here. But, you know, any of these anti-SJW channels, there's hundreds of them, you know, and that all follow the same kind of model. You know, the business model where you find a smaller channel, make fun of them, drive your traffic up, right? And then make money, profit, you know, through views, through Patreon, you know, through all this other stuff. And essentially, like, you can get a pretty comfy living going. It's the same thing that Ann Coulter does, right? Essentially. You ever notice that Ann Coulter will write a book and then she'll go on some radio station or something and do an interview, and she'll say something wildly inflammatory and outlandish, you know, something like women shouldn't be allowed to vote, right? That's an actual thing that Ann Coulter said, right? And that'll get her in the news, and then it'll get a bunch of buzz going, and then a shitload of people will go buy her book. And that's basically what it is. She's a professional fucking, you know, karma whore, essentially, right? That preys on conservatives. You know, but like the idiotic conservatives who don't really know anything about politics and who only watch Fox and like actually think Ann Coulter has something, you know, meaningful to bring to the conversation. Those are the people. Like it's basically just a way to, like, you know, monetize stupidity on the right wing, right? And all of these anti-SJW channels, that's basically their model. Jordan Peterson said the same thing. You know, I've figured out a way to monetize SJWs, like, essentially, like, you know, except really you're not monetizing SJWs, you're monetizing the anti-SJWs, you know, you're monetizing the people that, you know, the anti-feminists, right? The people who want to say, you know, un-PC things and want to use the N-word and want to discriminate, stuff like that. Those are the people that you're monetizing. You're not monetizing the social justice people, you know, so let's just be clear about that. So let's get back to where I said before that this is not a free speech issue, because it isn't, okay? Specifically, free speech in regards to the First Amendment, you know, of the United States Constitution. That deals with the government trying to limit your free speech. And in no case here is the government kicking any of these guys off of these channels. The government didn't kick Bering off of Twitter. All right, Twitter did. Twitter did because he, you know, did something that triggered a bunch of his fucking followers to go harass somebody. And so Twitter blamed him and kicked him off. Whether you think that's fair or not is whatever. You know, that's a different story, but that's what happened, right? Same shit happened on YouTube. Basically, he, you know, made a video about somebody, and then his followers went and harassed that person, and that person filed a fucking, you know, claim against him and got him suspended, you know, temporarily, right? The government didn't do that. You know, the FBI didn't break into his house and steal all his computers and kick him off of social media. That's those platforms basically deciding that this kind of content doesn't align with their, you know, the image that they want to put out there, their brand, basically. That's really what it is, you know. And YouTube and Twitter and all of these companies have a right to do that, you know. I mean, here's the thing, is that I'm fucking a victim of this shit too. My channel got demonetized, right? All of my videos are essentially, you know, politics related, right? And during this whole YouTube adpocalypse, one by one, all my videos started getting demonetized. You know, basically anything having to do with politics whatsoever got demonetized, which left me with a handful of fucking, like, you know, random movie review type videos and shit like that, you know, I was like, great, so much for that. And then they just basically took away my partner status completely, you know, decided, okay, the new threshold is this many subscribers and you don't meet it, your money's gone. Now, that didn't affect me personally because I never really made very much money off of YouTube. You know, I mean, I only have like 600 subscribers. But somebody like Bering, that could be a pretty big chunk, right? That could be a pretty big fucking, like, you know, wad of cash right out of his wallet there, right? And so, you know, it matters. It matters to people like him who make their living on the internet creating content, whether you agree with that content or not, right? But you know, at the same time, this is, you know, this is what you signed up for. When you accepted that terms of service, when you went on YouTube, you know, YouTube doesn't want controversy. You know, Twitter doesn't want controversy. They don't want their name associated with harassment. You know, they don't want it associated with you know, people fucking alt-right people and Nazis and shit like that, right? Which, once again, none of these people are Nazis, or I wouldn't even call people like Bering or other SJW, anti-SJW channels alt-right, but that's who their fucking audience is. That's who their audience is, man. I can't tell you how many, like, you know, on that channel specifically, on that video that I made specifically, that the traffic for people come in from him, can't tell you how many fucking Nazis and white supremacists and identitarians and that, you know, that I've gotten on their comments. Just, you know, anybody, if you want to go look at the comments, look how many fucking like vile white supremacist horseshit you see on there. Right. That's who he's like catering to. So whether he wants to do that or not, those are the people that are watching his video. And which makes sense when you make a video defending, you know, things like fucking that action, that it's okay to be white action, you know, or when you make a video that, like, you know, that pokes fun at you know, at a feminist or something like that. Who do you think is watching that shit? All right, that's who you're catering to here. When you're making anti-SJW videos, well, who are the anti-SJW audience? Who are they? Right, they're the fucking alt-right. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't think personally that, you know, he even really means to do that. I haven't seen any evidence that the guy's a racist or anything like that. I don't think he is, you know. I really have not watched very many of his videos enough to be able to tell that he is or not, because I purposely don't want to, like, familiarize myself with this shit. It doesn't matter to me that much, right? But it doesn't change the fact that that's where the guy's getting his money from. That's who's watching his stuff. In a perfect world, you'd be able to go on the internet and say, use whatever platform you want and say whatever you want, and you wouldn't have to worry about anybody telling you otherwise. But this isn't a perfect world, okay? We basically use these services for free, right? You know, from Google, from YouTube, from Facebook. We use these services for free, right? But the trade-off is that they get to control the content that they broadcast on their platform. You know, you got to remember, social media, how do they make their money? They make their money off of us, you know, content creators and the people that go and view that content. That's how they make their money, right? And ultimately, it's all dollar signs to them. They want more people on their platform. And if you're on their platform saying hate speech and shit like that, or even something even close that other people could consider hate speech, right? Or even something that something that, like I say, an anti-SJW video, I wouldn't call that hate speech, right? But the harassment that results from that most definitely can be, you know, fall under that category, you know. And if that's shit's happening, if you're disrupting that, they have every right to kick you off. You know, it's their channel; they can do what they want. And if you don't like it, find another channel. You know, find another platform. There's hundreds out there that are just greedy, looking for content creators. If like enough big content creators went to something like DTube or whatever, that's where the content is. That's where people start going. Anyway, that's all I got. Adios, folks.